This is the Bleav in Pro Wrestling podcast. Here's Rick Ucchino and SP3 on the Bleav Podcast Network.
Yeah, sure. Why not? Let's do this on a Friday night. Let's get the weekend started off right. A very special edition of the Bleav in Pro Wrestling podcast. Rick Ucchino, SP3, here with you right up until 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Why? Well, we all got 3 hours of wrestling we got to watch tonight. So if you're tuning in a little bit late, like if you're on the podcast channel, because not only are we available on YouTube, we're available wherever podcasts are, whether that be Spotify, Apple, Google, iHeart, TuneIn. The entire Bleav network can be found on TuneIn Radio, so make sure to check that action out. All right, Bleav, wall to wall, across the country, covering everything. If you're tuning into us a little bit late Saturday, Sunday, and we might be a bit behind on stuff, but you can always listen back and see just how wrong we really were, and then we'll come back and circle back on Tuesday at 2:15, like we always do. How about them apples? SP3, we got news on Bray Wyatt we got to cover. Well, rumors on Bray Wyatt. We'll get the scoop on Bray Wyatt tonight for sure. Renee Paquette is back in pro wrestling. Saraya has spoken for the first time since her return to pro wrestling. Jon Moxley has a big title defense in his hometown on Tuesday. I'm going to be there. Orange Cassidy is finally a champion, and several women are now rumored to possibly be back on their way to WWE. We got a lot to talk about. How you doing this Friday evening?
I am doing well. I'm ready for the weekend. I am ready to talk about some wrestling up until SmackDown starts. So without further ado, let's get to it.
Yeah, and welcome into everybody in the chat. Steven and Safet and Bell. I think Bell is, I'm not sure if Bell is new or not, but I appreciate you. If you guys are new, make sure to hammer the subscribe button. Make sure to hammer that thumbs up button, because by the way, as soon as we get to 500 subscribers, one of y'all is winning $100 to either shop AEW or shop WWE. And before we get things going, got to thank our friends over at BetOnline real quick. Last housekeeping item. Football is back. BetOnline remains your number one source for all your football betting needs this season. Get the latest odds, matchup information, player news, and game trends. And as your continued source for all your sports wagering information, BetOnline features live betting, free contests, live scores, and giveaways all season long. Always the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports and events like MLB, MMA, tennis, boxing, golf. I believe there's even pro wrestling betting on there. Go to betonline.ag to join and receive your 100% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use our promo code Bleav, BLEAV, to receive your rewards. BetOnline, where the game starts. SP3, we will start with Bray Wyatt tonight. It is his big return to Fox, to SmackDown, to the Blue brand. Everybody's waiting to see what he's going to do tonight, what he's going to be about tonight. And the latest reports from the Wrestling Observer, we talked about this on Tuesday, the whole Wyatt 6. Does that mean it's the 6th iteration of Bray Wyatt, as you theorized, or are there going to be multiple people? Are the Firefly Funhouse characters coming to life? Well, at least according to Wrestling Observer, it seems like it's going to be more of the stable, and there have been some wacky, wild, weird names thrown out as possibilities. Anybody from Grayson Waller to Joe Gacy, to the Dyad, to Bo Dallas returning to WWE to be alongside of his brother, which should have happened a long-ass time ago, those two working with one another. But, where are your thought process on everything that we're hearing as far as Bray Wyatt returning with a stable, and then you hear some of these names that they have tossed out here as possibilities?
I think the most interesting name that they tossed out was Grayson Waller being Mercy the Buzzard, because Mercy was wearing a similar shirt to what Grayson wore on NXT.
Yeah.
I like. I don't think he has the personality that would fit in with this gimmick here. I like the idea of the Righteous, Vincent, and Dutch from Ring of Honor joining this Wyatt 6 family, because they seem to have like the look and personality that would fit in very well. But it's exciting. I mean, we remember the days when WWE had 0 factions. Now we got the Judgment Day running roughshod on Raw. You got Damage Control. what's the opposite of running roughshod? Anyway, you got the
Sputtering
Bloodline,
along.
you got Legado del Fantasma, you got Hit Row, you got Maximum Male Models, and now you're gonna have the Wyatt Six stable. It's like I called this a few weeks ago, I think on another platform, and I'll say it here. Triple H, man, he's running through the gauntlet of the Tony Khan playbook. If you look at a Monday Night Raw, the format has completely changed. It's basically Dynamite now. You get a few angles, a few promos, but mostly it's just wrestling. That's the Dynamite formula, and they're sticking to that on Monday Night Raw. Thus, why Monday Night Raw has been better. Now you got him bringing in more stables. That's like a Tony Khan. That's actually a Gato playbook from New Japan, because New Japan got nothing but stables. But it seems like Triple H is following in the footsteps of the two great bookers that have dominated the last couple of years over Vince McMahon.
Yeah, Brawling Brutes, another faction that was stuck in the mud when they first got going. Now they're one of the hottest damn things on SmackDown. So, you have that dynamic of different groups. And the thing that I love here is also he's not afraid to mix in females with the male group, because those were separated a lot. And it's like, all right, y'all know, like these men and women can interact with one another in a non-romantic angle, and Triple H understands that, and I like that. I still don't know how I feel about Zelina Vega with Legado del Fantasma, but we'll see. We'll see how things go with that. But a lot of people bringing up Eva Marie as a possibility of being in here with the Wyatt Six. I think she was trolling, or at least I hope she was trolling. Not that I wouldn't mind to see her back in WWE, just I don't know how she fits with that dynamic, but it is interesting. And I do agree with Steven here. Probably adding a member or two at a time each week, keep people guessing, keep the intrigue going, because that is what works so well for WWE. Even though everybody kind of knew it was Bray or theorized it was Bray, the Easter eggs and the dropping and the dropping of the clues and the intrigue from week to week of you're not knowing what's going to happen, and who are we going to see this week? Is it going to happen? I think they have an opportunity to continue that with these members of this faction joining one at a time. I think you kind of shoot your wad there a little bit if Bray Wyatt shows up and there are the other 5 characters in the ring and they all unmask themselves and boom, there it is. It's right there. You can take your time with this and just keep drawing people's interest out. I think that would be the best way to go. Liv Morgan, another name that a lot of people have theorized. That's not one that's been reported, but you do have that weird ass smile that she made while she was being choked out by Ronda Rousey. Then you had the backstage segment where she was curled up in a corner in a ball like a lost kitten, and then kind of looked up and gave that smile again. And now it's creepy season. It's Halloween. She's going to be in an episode of Chucky. Her career is starting to take off now. So, I mean, maybe that's an angle they could go, or maybe she just has her own damn thing. I'll ask you though this, SP3, who do you want to see as members of the Wyatt Six? Like, who is somebody that you think would really either fit well, or somebody who's just dangling out there in the WWE universe aimlessly that could use a little bit of creative footing here?
Well, definitely Bo Dallas and Eric Redbeard for people that are not in the company. I think they just fit in very well with what they're doing with the Wyatt Six, and it kind of it fits like a glove. Bray's brother and one of the Wyatt family members joining the group. Like I said before, Vincent and Dutch would also be very good, and I would say Liv Morgan. I don't have confidence in Liv Morgan to do this angle on her own and get it over. And I don't have confidence in the Triple H regime. Yes, I'm at that point. I don't have confidence in the Triple H regime to book Liv Morgan properly, because I have about 3 months of evidence that says he doesn't.
Yeah.
So no, I want her to be in this group. The other people that they've suggested for this in Alexa Bliss, been there, done that. I don't want to see it again. I'm good. Move on. Let her go back. If we're going to let Alexa Bliss go back to a former gimmick, let her go back to the goddess. Don't let her go back to the gimmick that basically has put her career at a stop sign. Don't let her do that. Don't let her do it again. So Liv Morgan is better than Alexa Bliss. The other person I heard was Roxanne Perez, and I was just like, what the hell are we talking about? So Liv Morgan would be number 1 as far as the female. So that would be my group. It would be Wyatt, Eric Redbeard, Bo Dallas, Vincent and Dutch, and Liv Morgan.
Respectfully, I'll disagree with you about Alexa Bliss. I don't think it was the fact that gimmick stopped her career. I think it was Bray Wyatt leaving that kind of stopped her career.
No, it was
When
it was already downhill before that. People were all over how horrible that WrestleMania 37 finish was. People were all over her beating Randy Orton at Fastlane. That gimmick, it was already on expiring date before Bray got released.
It doesn't explain the fact, though, that she has been back on her own since February, and they ain't done a damn thing with her. I wrote about this today for Cage Side Seats. They have done nothing with her. They did those therapy sessions, those critically panned therapy sessions. Still, she got brought back to Elimination Chamber in Saudi Arabia, got a huge pop, had an excellent performance inside of the Elimination Chamber, had some momentum built up. Then they inexplicably just benched her for 3 months, brought her back after WrestleMania instead of doing something with her at Mania. And then she has yet to have her own story, her own anything, her own arc, which is why I kind of don't want to see her back in the Wyatt Six. I want to see her doing her own thing and getting back to being a singles competitor, because right now she's already a sidekick and is lost in the shuffle and all of this madness that is Bianca Belair versus Damage Control. She's been used as a pawn to stabilize the numbers when Bianca Belair proved at Elimination Chamber she never needed Asuka or Alexa Bliss in the first damn place. So they've just been in a holding pattern. I'd like to see Alexa possibly turn heel and go after Bianca and start doing her own thing. So with that, I'd like to see Liv Morgan in this group. Another name I'll throw out there, just because he's stuck in creative purgatory, and I know he's so much better than that. Can we do something with Dominik Dijakovic, please? I don't know how he fits. I don't know how it would work. I just want to see the guy on TV. I want to see him doing something, literally anything. Like, that's the one guy I keep waiting for. Like, I've gotten pretty much everything else that I wanted. Bray's back. We're getting LA Knight back tonight, right? Like, I'm like a kid in a candy store, and I've gotten everything. But there's just that one little thing that I'm craving that I can't find. I ain't seeing it on the shelf. I ain't seeing it on my TV screen. It's Dominik Dijakovic. I want him back. I want him doing something. So I would hope that he would be involved in some way, shape, or form. You can throw some names out there if you guys would like. You got Frantic World saying Joe Gacy and the Dyad. I think that would almost be too obvious, right? I mean, he's already like Bray Wyatt light. It would be like having, a cooler full of Diesel and then Bud Light. Like, it's just, they're basically the same guy, just one is substantially better. And that's not a knock on Joe Gacy, but when you put these two together, like, Bray Wyatt's just going to blow him out of the water. That's just where it is right now. I would keep Joe Gacy and the Dyad in NXT and doing their own thing. Steven Chambers, Nikki Cross, a possibility. Sure. Sign me up, because the superhero gimmick seems to be dead in the water, ain't working. They're not doing anything with her anyway. Sign me the hell up. If you want to get to some form of a spooky, psychotic, crazy Nikki Cross back without going full, sanity, maybe something a little different, cool. Rando agrees. Nikki Cross. And Bell saying, can we let Roxanne grow first? She's too young. She has time to grow and do her own whatever with Cora Jade in NXT. She has way too much going on in NXT. Yes, she's a prodigy. I would almost say she's ready for the main roster, but that makes no sense whatsoever. Makes no sense whatsoever. I will say, though, Grayson Waller does intrigue me. Like, I love Grayson Waller. I think he is a good character. He's good on the mic. He's great in the ring. I have no idea how he would fit with Bray Wyatt, and it's almost to the point where it's like, okay, I want to see this just because I want to see how bad it is or how awesome it is, right? Like, that's what intrigues me with that. So I kind of hope
I'm good. If you have even an inkling, it might be bad. I don't want that for Bray Wyatt. He's been down that route.
It's true.
Before. Don't do that to him.
That's true. So
Grayson
choices.
Grayson Waller is like if you put Australia, The Miz, and Jeff Jarrett in a pot and you mix it up. That's Grayson Waller. That does not fit in with what the Wyatt Six is trying to accomplish.
Queen saying Alexa showed photos of her filming something, so maybe she's becoming the goddess again. I think she was in like a music video or something like that. I'm not sure. I haven't been paying that close of attention. Just do something with her. She's too damn good to be a sidekick for this damn long, right? I know injuries have kind of derailed her career here a little bit, but man, it's been a long ass time since she was dominating the women's division. I know the talent pool is deeper now. She's just completely been lost in the shuffle, and I think she's way too damn good for that. We had a jam-packed AEW Dynamite. We got another big show tonight in Rampage, both from Toronto. And they came right out of the gate this week in Toronto, the home country of Renee Paquette. And they just said, welcome back. Here is Renee. She gets this big pop in front of the crowd. This is somebody that a lot of people lost their minds about when she became All Elite. She officially signed with the company. I think it says a lot about her SP3 that people were so excited for a broadcaster, right? Like somebody who's not an in-ring performer, somebody who probably is not going to step into a wrestling ring, somebody who doesn't even really know what her role with the company is yet. Just, hey, let's sign now, figure it out later. And she's back to being a backstage interviewer. Just the fact that people are so excited to see her back in wrestling says so much about her and the talent and everything that she brings to the table for AEW.
Renee Paquette might be the most beloved broadcast team member of any promotion in the last decade. Like, if you think about WWE, think about their broadcast team, someone like Michael Cole, he's been getting praise lately. He didn't get praise for the eight or so or 2 decades before that. He gets it lately, but he ain't get it for 2 decades before that. Pat McAfee has been beloved, but it's still a short amount of time. He just came in last year. Mauro Ranallo was very popular, but then there was also the other side of social media that hated the pop culture references and how over the top he could be. Corey Graves was very beloved when he first started off as an announcer. Then he went to the main roster and he turned into a robot that just said the words of Vince McMahon. So they fell out of love with him. Brian Saxon's never been beloved. So when you think about all those commentators from
Byron.
I know, it's sad. It's sad. I honestly was upset. I honestly complained on Trio Eat that Brian Saxon got pushed off the desk. Like, he couldn't have Booker's job. Booker T really needed a job on NXT. Oh God. But Renee Paquette is beloved because she has that essence. She's like a female Mean Gene Okerlund. She just, hits it out of the park every single time, whatever the assignment is. If you wanted to do a backstage interview, if you wanted to do an in-ring interview, if you wanted to host a show talking about all the latest, wrestling notes, if you wanted to do the pre-show for the pay-per-view, she kills it every single time. I even liked her on commentary. So anything that they give her and the broadcast team, she has knocked it out the park. I think it's very great that not only is she back in wrestling, that she wanted to be back in wrestling. That caused her to sign with All Elite Wrestling. Is very excited, and it adds a lot of depth to their broadcast team. They had a bunch of members of the broadcast team that weren't that great. So I think that this will also help for Tony Schiavone. Tony Schiavone, who has more roles backstage, he doesn't have to do 167 interviews on an episode of Dynamite. You could split it down the middle, let Tony do some, let Renee do some, let JR do some sit-down interviews, and you have a triple threat of people that can do multiple different things for your broadcasting.
Yeah, look, man, this was kind of somewhat surprising because you had, Renee has been doing fantastic all on her own with the sessions with Volume Sports Network. She gets to work from home. She's doing her own content. She obviously has the connections and the talent to make an absolutely great show. She can work at home and raise her daughter and all of these things. Well, John goes out and travel, and he has a much lighter schedule with AEW. And, it seems like it has that she had everything perfect. She just started another podcast working for the Cincinnati Bengals, where she currently resides, right in the Queen City. So, that she had a lot already on her plate, full-time mom, full-time show host, doing some side gigs with NHL Network and this, that, and the other thing. So it's like, my goodness, how are you going to add AEW to your schedule or WWE? Because there were those reports that WWE reached out, but then you hear her on the sessions talk about it, and I get it, man, because if my back was anywhere close to even 20% healthy, I would be training again. Like, I miss it. I genuinely miss it. There is a bug about being at shows and being a part of the business and even taking the bumps and everything, man. It sticks with you, and I genuinely miss it. And somebody like Renee who says, look, I miss the crowds. I miss the action. I miss being there. This just made all the more sense. Of course, she wasn't going to go back to WWE, not with Jon and AEW, and he signs his big 5-year contract extension. It makes a ton of sense to try to branch out and break some new ground in AEW. What's going to be interesting is you've heard Renee talk before about if she would go back to WWE, she would want to do something completely different than what she was doing there. So I think Tony Khan has kind of just the simple fact that Jon is there, it was kind of an easy bridge to get her over there. They don't have a plan for her, which is interesting. But as you brought up, the talent is endless. You can do so much different stuff with her. And I think Tony's going to be willing to listen and figure out what exactly it is. And she's going to have a fantastic role with that company for years to come and open themselves up to things that they're currently not doing now. And Renee can kind of take that on depending on how much her schedule is. I think this is an absolute home run hire for AEW. I'm so happy for Renee. I'm happy for the wrestling fans too, because it was just so great to see her back doing her thing. There's just a certain energy that she brings to the table when she's on the TV screen. So I am all for that. The one of the things that I've loved to watch surrounding Renee Paquette has been her Twitter timeline, because between her and Saraya, I mean, there is just a sisterhood and a bond there that just makes you smile when you read their tweets. And speaking of Saraya, we got to get to this now.
It's time to answer the 5 count on the Bleav Podcast Network.
So, in a move that surprises absolutely no one, Saraya has done her first interview, and it was on Talk with Jericho. Surprise! Jericho lands the big interview on that one. Attempts were made by the Bleav in Pro Wrestling Podcast Network, but let's be honest, we were never really in the running. But I will always try for you guys. Saraya with Chris, pretty much. I haven't heard it, but I didn't get a chance yet. I've read as many quotes as I could. SP3, I don't know if you had a chance to listen to it, but it definitely sounds like she pretty much confirmed everything that Fightful Select had reported about her entire situation, including the fact that she did talk to Triple H about a return to the company, but ultimately decided in the end that AEW would be a better fit for her moving forward as she tries to get back in the ring. Does sound like she's cleared. She's going to be wrestling again, which is a really, really great thing. Sounds like she's taking things a little bit slower now as well and not trying to rush into doing so much. Talked also about changing up her ring style. So it sounds like she's being very smart when it comes to her body and her overall health, which is all good things. But when you read and hear about her talking about how her relationship with Triple H was and how Hunter was always very willing to listen, and that Hunter thought that it was Saraya who left, and she was like, nah, bro, it was actually Vince and Johnny Ace who said, see you later. We don't need your services anymore. Triple H was talking to her. Ultimately, she decides to go to AEW, knowing she has such a good relationship with Triple H, and he might be willing to work with her on some things. Judging everything, how surprised are you that she decided to go to AEW over returning to WWE when there was interest to bring her back, and she does have a good relationship with Triple H?
I'm not surprised at all. I'm not surprised at all because, one, I mean, I'll put it in an analogy. Say you bring a whole big boulder to this hill and you start pushing the boulder up the hill. You got one, maybe two friends pushing it up the hill. You make it halfway up the hill and then your back gives out. You can't push it anymore. And then 4 more people, they just come and they start pushing it up the hill. You take your break. You're working on your back, and then the doctors tell you your back is cleared. You're ready to push the boulder up the hill some more, and they just tell you, nah, we don't need you. We got these four to push it up the hill. That's what happened with Paige and WWE. The 4 people, of course, is the 4 horsewoman. The 1 or 2 friends that she had that she brought the boulder to the hill was Emma and AJ Lee. Mind you, you don't hear much about them and their contributions to the women's revolution, do you? You don't hear them talk about how AJ Lee was the first woman that got major TV time on the main roster. You don't hear them talk about the Paige and Emma series that put the women's division on the map in NXT, which started the domino effect to the women's revolution. You don't hear much about that. So at the end of the day, if I got this new promotion where I don't have to even ask about doing the stuff that I really want to do outside of wrestling, where in WWE, regardless of my good relationship with Triple H, I gotta ask. I gotta ask to do Twitch.
Yeah.
I gotta ask to do a movie. I gotta ask to do my dad's promotion in England. She don't have to do any of that with the AEW. So I'm not surprised at all she chose the AEW.
Yeah, and I'm not either. I think, you know, kind of reading into things and again, I'm very interested to go back and listen to what, you know, she said verbatim and the inflection and everything with Chris, and maybe she talked about this as well. Look, I think she also went where she was needed. WWE does not need her. Like, I think they would want her back in the fold because obviously she's very, very talented. But it's, man, you look at the women's rosters on both Raw and SmackDown and the up and comers in NXT. I mean, where does Paige fit? Like, Triple H offered her, I think Fightful said offered her the GM role and would work with her on getting her cleared. I think the GM role is kind of outdated. She's been there. She's done that. Would she want to do that? Obviously not. She's kind of like the pseudo GM as far as the women's division is concerned in AEW, even though we really haven't had like an on-screen authority type figure in AEW outside of Tony Khan when he decides to grace us with his presence. So, yeah, man, I think she went where she wanted to go, but also where she was needed, where she could do the most good and where she wouldn't get lost in the shuffle. Let's be honest. You have big stars like I talked about earlier with like Alexa Bliss and Asuka just lost in the shuffle, not doing anything right now. And I know there would have been a big fanfare. They would have brought Saraya back. They would have made a big deal out of her first match. And then it's like, okay, then what? Where do we go from here? I think she is the perfect person for AEW to bring in and help elevate that women's division, a voice in the locker room, somebody who's going to fight for more time, fight for more storylines, fight for, you know, everything that we have been asking for out of the AEW women's division for a long time. So I'm not surprised. And I think she made the right move because she's needed there. And I think they're going to utilize her better in AEW than they would in WWE. And it all comes down to a numbers game. Jon Moxley will defend his AEW World Heavyweight Championship this Tuesday, special Tuesday edition of Dynamite, right here where I'm at right now, Cincinnati, Ohio, his hometown, against Hangman Adam Page. You had Hangman Adam Page this week in Toronto coming down and reminding everybody that he can cut a damn good promo, and just sold a ticket to anybody who wasn't ready to see this match. Everybody's fired up for John, or at least you should be, for Jon Moxley and Hangman Adam Page. And then, oh yeah, by the way, you got MJF renting out an entire damn suite so he can hang on and hug to his poker chip and just sit up there with a maniacal smile and watch these two diss each other, knowing that he's hanging above their heads and is ready to go whenever he deems it is his time to cash in his poker chip. SP3, given the promo that we heard from Hangman Adam Page, given the fact that we got MJF hanging over this whole deal coming down in Cincinnati, what odds do you give Jon Moxley of walking out of his hometown with the AEW World Championship on Tuesday?
100%. I don't know the odds. Whatever the odds are, 2-1, whatever it is. Yeah, put all your money on Jon Moxley, because Jon Moxley ain't losing in Cincinnati, 1, and he definitely ain't losing the AEW World Championship, 2. I kind of agree with MCAS. I felt like it was a big mistake having MJF there in that segment, because it took a lot of the attention away from Hangman Page and what was one of the best promos of his career. So much passion, so much intensity that he had there. It felt like kind of his promo to bring him back to the main event scene to stay, hopefully. But I think these guys are going to have a great match. It's going to be one of the best Dynamite matches of the year. But I think there's no shot in hell that Hangman Adam Page wins this one. But I love the line, him saying that his old friends disappeared. You heard the oohs and the ahs when he said that? That was a great line.
Man, they are doing it's so interesting because you got Tony Khan who won't talk about anything that's going on with the Elite or with CM Punk or anybody involved in that backstage altercation. He just won't talk about it publicly. Yet we're getting more and more on-screen references and mentions and disses. I mean, you had Jon Moxley saying, like this, what was John's line where he said like this title crushes people some sooner rather than others, or whatever. I'm paraphrasing, but that was an obvious shot at CM Punk. So it's interesting that we're getting more on-screen mentions. I don't think that Hangman Adam Page has a chance in hell of winning this title. It all comes down to what they do with MJF. Would they decide to go the angle of having MJF cash in his chip and beat Jon Moxley in his hometown after he already successfully defended the title against Hangman Adam Page? And based off of the promos we've been getting from MJF recently, I don't think so, because that is a 100% heel move. And it is very obvious to me, SP3, that we're already in tweener MJF phase right now, where he's cutting promos saying, you know what, I don't even like myself, but that's the son of a bitch I have to be successful. He's finally starting to peel the curtain back and show that there's an actual human being there, that he's not 100% a dick, right? Like, what was that whole dang it, John C. Reilly, 100% dick. There's the movie line there. I can't remember what the movie is from.
But he been
Guardians of the Galaxy, the whole 100% dick move, right?
He showed this in the CM Punk feud when he revealed the kind of the origin story of MJF. This is all the things that's paying off, and it honestly, what's going on with MJF's character is actually elevating his feud with CM Punk, because that's where it all started. That's where the humanizing of MJF really began.
Yeah, we saw it, but it did. If memory serves correct, it all kind of turned out to be bullshit, though, didn't it? Because he still
No, he didn't. He just hugged him, and he said he meant every word he said, but he said he's also the devil. You made him the devil. You made him the devil. That's basically what he said. You made him the devil. So yeah, at the end of the day, he did betray him the next week, but he never said he was lying the week before. True. Everything he said, he was honest about.
Totally fair. I do think they are merging him towards being an overall babyface at some point, which makes me think he's not going to screw over John. So maybe do they try to pull off a double turn? I don't know if they could do that. I'm not sure, but it's going to be interesting. I think 100% Jon Moxley is walking out of Cincinnati, though, with the AEW World Championship. Can't wait to be there to watch it. SP3, finish this sentence. Orange Cassidy winning the All-Atlantic Championship. Blank.
Whatever. I was so happy. That was honestly a great main event, one of the best Dynamite main events of 2022, and the crowning moment, the happy moment for Orange Cassidy, winning the title in 8 tries at Championship Gold in AEW. He finally won the big one, and it was against the guy that he had his first match against in AEW, a guy that could be said to be his greatest rival in AEW, Impact. I thought it was a great moment, and I'm happy for Orange Cassidy. He's a guy that deserves it. He's a guy that really organically got over with this AEW crowd, and he's more or less like a veteran. He's a new star in kind of where AEW is at. He wasn't introduced in any other promotion before he came to AEW, but he's a veteran. He's been in the game for nearly 2 decades. So to see him finally win the big one, it was a great moment.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Orange Cassidy winning the All-Atlantic Championship. Proves you can break the mold, right? Like, this is a guy who's been heavily criticized for his gimmick, right? For putting his hands in his pockets and being lazy and doing the, his version of the kicks and everything, the lazy kicks and everything like that. And like, there were people who just didn't get it and said that this guy wasn't going to work on TV and that he'd be out of AEW within a few months. And this is a guy that just stuck around. He got organically over, and he proved you don't have to be like this work rate Adam Cole guy, even though he's a hell of a work rate guy, right? Obviously he can go when he decides to throttle it up to full gear, but I mean, you don't have to look like Brian Cage. You don't have to look, you don't have to be the badass brawler like Jon Moxley. You can be who you are and still be successful. So that's why I'm so damn happy that, one, he did get over with the audience. And then finally, Tony Khan allowed this man to win something of substance, because going 0-7 was getting ridiculous. So thankfully, he did not go to 0-8. I think it made a ton of sense for him to beat Pac. And yeah, as you know, OC winning the title is so whatever.
And he has the greatest entrance video of all time. His entrance video says, "Put a cool move here." That's the greatest entrance video of all time. Just words.
I also love his theme song. The switch to Jane has just been absolutely spectacular. So I'm looking forward to this run a lot. All right, we got a few more minutes here before SmackDown gets underway. So let's move on to number 4 here now, SP3. We're hearing more and more names being mentioned in the carousel of who's coming back to WWE this week. And so get ready for SmackDown tonight, boys and girls, because typically when somebody's name gets mentioned, lately they've been showing up sooner rather than later. We got reports, I believe it was PW Insider, who says that contract negotiations have begun again with Naomi. This is the first time that her name has been mentioned in quite some time. And then you had the Wrestling Observer saying that WWE is interested in bringing back both Chelsea Green and Mia Yim. Mia Yim might have been Pro Wrestling Insider as well. But you have these three ladies.
Votes was Chelsea Green.
Wrestle votes with Chelsea Green. There's been so many. I really got to start writing this stuff down. But Naomi, Chelsea Green, Mia Yim, which potential signing intrigues you the most, SP3?
Man, it's tough between the last two, because I feel like Naomi is very dependent on how they use her. If they're going to use her to put her back with Sasha Banks in the tag team division, I think she'll be good for 3 months and then be right back where she is. Or if they decide to use her in the Bloodline faction, then I think she might be good for a little bit longer. With Chelsea Green and Mia Yim, it's the option of the unknown. I'm going to go with Chelsea Green only because I want to see Mia Yim in AEW. I want to keep a couple together. Yeah. I don't want Mia Yim going to WWE and have Keith Lee looking over at the other promotion, because I think Keith Lee's been doing well in AEW. So I want to keep him there and make him feel more comfortable. Bring over Mia Yim, adds more depth to the women's division as another crucial star, and hopefully they can get their awful women's division booking together, and Mia Yim can mean something. Whereas Chelsea Green, she's a complete unknown. Like, we barely got to see her in WWE. We had maybe like a 4 or 5 month run with Robert Stone on NXT. She was supposed to get called up to the main roster. We had several different ideas that they had, or she had, for them, and they didn't want to use any of them. Chelsea Green is a little bit of the unknown, and plus Chelsea Green going to WWE opens the door a little bit wider for someone that I interviewed this year, Deonna Purrazzo, going to WWE, and give me Vex in this women's tag team division, which
exactly.
I want to say, go back about like 2-3 months ago and hear Rick when they first had their first match for the women's tag team tournament, and they actually gave it time, and I was just like, Rick, don't get too caught up too soon. And look who was right, because we are a month into Damage Control's reign, and how many successful title defenses do they have on TV?
Well, they ain't got no damn tag teams.
Zero. Stingy with De Niro.
They haven't built, and that's because I told you they needed to start building those tag teams, because none of those damn other tag teams that were in that tournament were going to be kept together, and they haven't been kept together. Even the freaking tag team that won the tournament ain't together anymore because Aaliyah is injured, whether that's legitimate or not. She says she's hurt. Okay, whatever. But they're starting the process now of building up Raquel and Shotzi. Okay, that's great. You need more. You need more reinforcements, which if Chelsea is going to come in with Deonna, sign me up for that. I've always been a fan of Chelsea Green. You're right. We barely got anything of her on the main roster. She made her big debut on the main roster on SmackDown, was going to win, I think, a number one contenders match. It was like a fatal 4-way match or something like that. And then she broke her wrist at like early on in the match and then missed the rest of it. And then I don't think we saw her again in WWE after that. So I would love to see her back. I do think it would be interesting if that kind of opened the door for maybe Matt Cardona to come back in. I don't think he would do that because he's just absolutely killing it on his own right now. But I would love to see, there is a part of me that would love to see how WWE would book Matt Cardona as opposed to Zack Ryder. But let's just keep Chelsea Green in a bubble here. She's interesting to me. But for all the reasons that you talked about, and I'll let you get whatever slide remark you're going to say because I see that look in your face. Whatever slide.
No, I have actually a spoiler. Fightful Select just released their notes for SmackDown tonight, and you wanna if you thought Candice versus Bayley was the match from WWE this week, where neither person should have or could have lost, and Bayley still lost. Get a whiff of this tonight on SmackDown. Raquel, Shotzi, and Roxanne Perez from NXT will go against Damage Control in a 6-woman tag. Literally, no one can lose that. Like, you just put together Raquel and Shotzi. Roxanne's making her first appearance on SmackDown. You expect them to lose? And Damage Control is already Damage Nexus, and they're gonna lose. Who's losing this one?
Roxanne. Yeah, Roxanne. Roxanne will get Cora Jade will take out Roxanne and she'll lose the match. I think that's what'll happen.
Yeah, because that's how you book ahead of NXT going up against AEW. You have the NXT person show up on SmackDown and lose. Yep.
Totally lost my train of thought. What was I talking about before?
You were talking about this question. I'm sorry. I saw that. I opened the email and I saw that. And I
said Matt Cardona, and I thought you were gonna give me some BS about Matt Cardona.
No, I'm fine with Matt Cardona going back to WWE too, because he wants to win the WWE title. I'm fine with all that.
Yeah, all of that is interesting. I agree with you though. I'd like to see Mia Yim in AEW. I think she can make a bigger impact there, and they need some reinforcements as well. But again, for all the reasons that you mentioned, I'm picking Naomi. Because Naomi, like, even going back to this whole situation where, she walked out with Sasha Banks, so much of the focus on this has been Sasha. Oh, yeah, Naomi was there too, right? Like, she has been such an afterthought in all of this, and I would love to see her come back because there's so many questions there. How is she going to be portrayed? How is she going to be received? Are they going to mention it? Are they going to bring it up? Are they going to bring up the old regime? Are they going to compare it to the new regime? Is she going to be coming with Sasha Banks? Is she going to be put into the bloodline? There's a lot of interesting questions surrounding Naomi that I want to see how they would play it out on screen. And that's why, to me, I'm going to take Naomi in this. But I would be happy with any of them. Any of these three ladies either winding up in WWE or AEW. Well, lastly, very quickly, because we got 2 minutes before SmackDown starts, what does your crystal ball tell you about Cameron Grimes on the main roster? SP3 reports are he will be at the Raw taping on Monday, probably getting an audition match on main event. That would be my guess. But Cameron Grimes, somebody who has done very well for himself in NXT. You got a pretty stacked couple of rosters here with a bunch of new faces on the both Raw and SmackDown. Where do you think Cameron Grimes would fit in all of this?
If he's going to the main roster, I would put him on SmackDown. There's a little bit more upward trajectory that he can get on the SmackDown brand. I think that if he does show up on the actual Raw broadcast, I think he is probably going to have a tryout on main event. But if he shows up on the Raw broadcast, he's going to be recruiting a tag team to verse the Dyad and Joe Gacy in a 6-man tag team matchup, because they teased that on this week's NXT.
It's going to be interesting regardless. Lots of new names, lots of new faces, lots of new stories. It's the ever-changing landscape that is WWE. I'm excited to watch Bray Wyatt tonight. Whatever goes down on SmackDown and Rampage, Monday, 7 p.m. Lost in the Mid-Card with Jeremy Bennett and Matt Black. Episode 2 will be on. And then myself and SP3 will be back Tuesday afternoon live here on the Bleav in Pro Wrestling YouTube channel. That will be live. The podcast will come later. 2:15 will be right here. Make sure to give us a thumbs up. Make sure to hammer the like button, guys. Subscribe. All of that. We appreciate you guys. Let's all go watch SmackDown. This has been the Bleav in Pro Wrestling podcast, brought to you by Bet Online.